Good afternoon, everyone. Rick Bosley, every other Tuesday for a 3 o'clock Meet the Mega series. I've loved where it's gotten, where it's taken off. Met a lot of you guys who I wouldn't have met had we not been doing this. So getting some pretty cool exposure from across the country. And even with that exposure, still finding some fantastic talent right here in my backyard. I first met our guest tonight at a Bold event, and then coached skills camp, and then Bold again. So he's definitely present. He's a leader. He's showing what it takes to be a leader. So I'm going to get right into it. Dan Grieg, thanks for being on the call with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Rick.
You bet. Now, I'm hearing a little bit of a low audio. Not sure if that's me. Are you on a Bluetooth set, or is the phone up to your mouth as best it could be?
I'll turn my volume up a little bit. How about that?
I guess we'll do our best. I turned my mic up to make sure. It could just be me on this end.
Oh, yeah, you're very loud now.
No, it's still pretty low.
How about now?
Nothing's changed. Everyone out there, I want you guys to have a good audio. Can you write in on the question section if you can hear it okay or if it's too low? If you just write in, sounds good, sounds bad.
Yeah, we'll test it one more time.
Okay, loud and clear. So it's me. I'm the problem. So we're going to talk away, and I'm gonna get started with it. So Dan, have you been on any of these calls before?
You know, I think I have.
Okay.
I did it once before.
Well, the format is pretty simple. I don't have a script. You and I, just full disclosure, we've not talked and prepared anything because I like to get it raw. I like to let the conversation lead it as it may. And you, congratulations, you sold the most units of any Keller Williams agent in the North Florida region last year.
Yes, that is correct.
How many closed homes did you end up with?
Well, we actually had more than we got credit for. It was, we had 363, but they gave us credit for 323. There was a person on our team that needed a few extra to get him to the next award level, so we just said put it in that person's name and take it out of mine.
Okay, good. So, and you 223 to, or excuse me, 323 to 363 is still fantastic. So before we get into that, and then going into what 2014 looks like, I understand you've got a background in criminal justice or law as a police officer, correct? Take us back some cliff notes of how you got into real estate, maybe some of the trials, tribulations, successes, and failures you had along that path.
All right, yeah, that's a great question. Well, you know, I came down to Florida to play football at UCF. I was on the team for a couple of years, and towards the end of my junior year, it was pretty obvious that I wouldn't be playing that much. The team had recruited some major talent that were better than me, younger than me, and I was probably going to be regulated to either special teams or the scout team. And so, you know, that was just the reality of my life at that time. So I just was facing that. And I had to take a criminal justice class that I missed at Seminole Community College because I couldn't get it on my schedule at UCF. So I went to Seminole Community College, and I noticed that there was a place called the Criminal Justice Institute. So I went to sign up for a criminal justice class, and they told me I was in the wrong place. I need to go to the registrar's office. And I said, well, what are you talking about? I'm taking a criminal justice class. This is Criminal Justice Institute. I see people signing up. What are you talking about? And they said, well, no. This is the police academy. And I'm like, okay, explain that. Students can just sign up to the police academy? And they said, yeah, you could just go to the police academy. I'm like, well, I haven't graduated college yet. Do I need to? No, absolutely not. You go tomorrow if you want to. And I'm like, I can really go tomorrow? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, all right, so what do I need to do? So I had some paperwork to fill out, get together. I literally signed up for the police academy right then and there and dropped out of UCF, and we were off season, so I didn't have to say anything to the football coach. I just told him next, that semester I wasn't coming back, and I was in the police academy.
Now, what was your mind doing, or what state were you in to be able to just completely 180, derail, fork in the road, and say, I'm going to police academy, when you intended to keep in school, stay in the football team? Were you in a low place? Were you looking for new opportunities? What was going on?
Well, you know, one of the things that I've always been very good at is recognizing when the cheese has been moved, so to speak, and that the opportunity that I had is no longer there. See, I think people wait too long in dead opportunities. We call them failing winners. They're winning, but they're failing, and they're starting to die in their current way of doing things. And so I've always been good at recognizing that and then just immediately jumping on to the new thing. And so for me, it was very easy. Then I kept my eyes up for opportunities, and now I do. I think that's what makes me successful in business, is that I do that. And I saw an opportunity that was a great opportunity. I was in college for criminal justice, and it turns out I didn't even need to be in college for criminal justice. And had I known, I would have gone to college for business.
Sure.
So, I mean, it was the right time, right place. That's
That was about 8 years ago?
No, that was like 15 years ago. I'm almost 40 years old. So,
Okay, I guess, you know what, I thought of, you've been in real estate for 8 to 9 years, correct?
Yep, this is my 9th year.
Okay.
And then I was at top for 7 years, so that would be 15 years ago.
So take us through that next piece of cheese moving when you decided to leave the police academy and venture into this crazy industry and career called real estate.
Right. So I was a police officer for a bunch of years, and and I wanted my life to be different. My dad was kind of a not a good dad, bad person overall. My mom, worked her ass off just to put food on the table. I'm sure a lot of people on this call can relate with that. And she had to just struggle her whole life. And I said, when I get married, my wife isn't going to have to put up with the crap that my wife put up with. My kids are going to have a father that's present, that's involved in their lives, that they know that I love them, that they're the apple of my life. They feel that side of them. And they get up in the morning that their dad approves of them, which I didn't have. So I was into my law enforcement career. I was on the SWAT team. I was a paramedic. I was working on DUI task force. I was doing all the things I like to do. But what I noticed is I was gone all the time, working details or in court or regular work or overtime. And I wasn't being the father that I wanted to be. So I knew that I needed to make a move. So I started looking around and saying, what are the options that I could get out of what I do now and make twice as much money in the same amount of time I worked? And at the time, I was making about $40,000 a year, $45,000 a year. So I said, if I can make $100,000 in 1 year, I'll be rich. So I said to myself, well, who makes that kind of money? And with the current experience I have, so I looked at attorneys. I was a very active police officer, made a lot of arrests. So I was around attorneys, judges a lot, and I saw them, and I figured I could be one of those guys. They make $100,000. The problem with that was that it would require me going to law school, and it would take me a couple more years and more time away from my kids. And so I said, not an option. Then I said, well, I'm a paramedic. I could take a course that will allow me to be a registered nurse, and then UCF has a program from RN to MSN, which is a nurse practitioner. I could do that, and I'd make $100,000 then. And I was thinking, you know what, same problem. I still got to go to school for more time. I can't go right away. So then I had a couple friends that were real estate agents, and at the time, with every house they sold, they made roughly $5,000 to $6,000. And as a police officer, I was on a DUI task force, and I made 123 DUI arrests in 1 year, just DUI. So I knew that it was always a numbers game, catching all the drunks. So it was the same thing in sales. So I said, well, maybe I'll give this an opportunity. If I could do 24 properties my first year, I'll make $100,000. So I started investigating going to real estate school. And during my investigation, I found out there was a real estate seminar being held at the Grand Cypress in Orlando. So I signed up to go to the seminar. It was actually a Mike Ferry seminar on lead generating and prospecting. So I went to the seminar. It was 3 days long, and on the third day, I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is the way I'm going to do it. And I signed up for coaching before I went to real estate school, before I had a license, before I had anything, I had a coach.
Well, that's huge. That's one thing that's very unique about you is you're very learning-based. Like I said at the beginning of the call, seeing you at Coach's Skills Camp to be a better coach to your team, seeing you at Bull to constantly raise the lid, the leadership lid. And it's fascinating that you saw the value of a coach before you even set up in real estate. So in your 8 to 9 years of real estate, have you ever not been coached?
Only a month here or there. I mean, I have a lot of philosophies on my coaches. I'm very picky as to who I'll let coach me, and I want you to hear me say that.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that are on this call, I'm very picky as to who I will let coach me.
Sure.
Okay? Because they're going to shape me into the person I'm going to be. So I do a whole recruit select process for my coach. I literally ask them really hard questions. Have you ever been divorced? If you've been divorced, I probably won't let you be my coach because I don't want to ever have that as an option in my life. Some people, they have to go through it. I understand that. That's just not for me. Are they debt-free and financially in a good place? Because that's what I want to be. That's what I want them to coach me on. Do they have a great relationship with their children? Very important to me. And are they a master of their craft? Have they sold the big houses and now they've decided to reinvest in other people? And do they see me as a good investment? Do they want to coach me aside from what I'm paying them just because they would love to see me grow my business, the intangible part of the coaching? So we ask that. It normally takes me about 3 to 6 months before I'll actually choose a different coach. And I choose a different coach every year.
So I want to go back to that because that's really intriguing to me. I want to hear about your first year. You set out to do 24. How'd your first year go?
Well, it's kind of funny. If I could tell you a little story here, is about the power of persistence. Is when I went to sign up for coaching with Mike Ferry, you had to pay $1,000 a month. So they ask you, and they do a quick little interview, like how much money do you have in the bank? Do you have investments, things like that? And they asked me how much money you have in the bank, and I said $3,000. They said, do you have any investment properties? I said, no. Any stocks or bonds? I said, no. Do you have anybody that could lend you money in a pinch? And I said, no, not really. I got to do it all myself. And they said, well, we can't allow you to be in our coaching program. And I was a little rejected by that. And I was like, wait a minute, why not? I can afford to pay for it. They're like, well, if you don't make your sale your first month, then we're not going to be able to let you. We're gonna have a problem. So I said, well, I'm not going to have that problem. I'm going to make a sale. And they said, sorry, you can't be in the program. So I started thinking for a second. I don't think they wrote down anything I said. That was a salesman on the other end of the line. They wanted me to say different things. So I just called back. I said, hi, this is Dan Grieve. I'm calling for my 1 o'clock coaching interview. And they said, did somebody already speak to you? I said, nope. I said, how much money do you have in the bank? I said, $30,000. Do you have investment properties? Yes. Do you have stocks? Yes. So let me in their coaching program. And after 3 months, I hired my coach not for once a week, but for twice a week. I paid, instead of $1,000 a month, $1,600 a month.
Wow.
They gave me a little break. And so I actually got coached for my first two years. I paid twice as much as you should and was coached twice as much as I should. And in my first year, surprisingly enough, Rick, do you think I did my goal or did I double my goal?
Based on the way you asked the question, you doubled your goal.
Instead of doing 24, I did 42.
Yep.
And so instead of making $100,000, I made $242,000 my first year in real estate. And it's been all uphill since then. It's because I've constantly surrounded myself by other people that were very successful, that were doing more than me. I'm the guy that literally takes the speaker out to lunch or makes sure that, I offer them with something of value so they want to talk to me. And I'm asking the tough questions. Tell me, what time do you get up in the morning? What scripts do you practice? How long do you practice? What do you wear? What kind of car do you drive? I'm known now to hijack people's vacation. If there's somebody I want to get close to, who I want to learn something from, and they're busy, I know they're busy because I'm busy too. I'll ask them where they're going on vacation that year, and I'll book the same vacation. I'll go on the same Disney cruise as them with my family. I'll go down to Sanibel Island with them. We'll rent a house together. Whatever it is, I've done that with Rick Brinkus. I've done that with Seth. I've done that with people that I want to learn from on a very high level. Natasha Tello, and you know what? Now they're some of the best friends I have in the world.
It sounds like it's a version of Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah. I mean, and there's heartache in the back end of this too. When I was a kid, I had some trouble, with my dad abusing me as a child, beating me up and stuff. And a lot of people say my story is a Lifetime movie. However, everybody has a story. Everybody has pains in their lives and issues they go through. So mine's no more spectacular than someone else's. It's just, what are you going to do next? What's the next thing you're going to do? If you've made a lot of mistakes, whether it be in your business, your personal life, or whatever, what are you going to do next? That's the question. And what I tell people is just do the next right thing. So if your business sucks right now and you're not making the money you want to make, or your relationship with your wife or your husband isn't good and you want that to be better, you know what you can do? Nothing about the past. You can just do the next right thing. So if that means tomorrow that you get up early and you work on your scripts, and then you just make 1 hour of calls, that's right. And then you do the next right thing, then the next right thing, then the next right thing. And before you know it, you look back and that wrong thing you did is buried behind so many right things that it's no longer the defining moment of your life. Does that make sense, Rick?
Absolutely, and of all of this, I want to go into kind of who you are as a person, as the leader, not so much even real estate, if that's okay. On your
Yeah.
9-year career, looking back, if you could choose one thing that you're most proud of, what is that?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's I'm most proud of the development of my administrative assistant, Melissa. Um, when I hired her, she was at Remax when I was at Remax, and she was answering the phones, and I jokingly say she was the front desk girl, and that's really all she did. She was labeled as a front desk girl. She answered the phone. But she's now far more than just some person that answers the phone. She's the office manager of a $45 million a year business. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for her, and her development is the most gratifying thing I've done so far. Now, we've done a lot of other stuff as well, but no questions asked. Her development is the thing that I'm most proud of right now, and the other people that work with me.
Which I was at a hunch it was going to go that way. So what are some techniques or tools or strategies that you are constantly revisiting or using to help people develop and to stay on track with that? Or were you just extremely lucky with Melissa? Or
Well,
both?
it's great. Those are great questions. All of those are great questions. Well, number one is, it's about you. If you're going to be the leader, it's really about you. You've got to be someone that they love and respect so much that they're okay with you making them uncomfortable. Because when people get uncomfortable, they leave. That's typically what they do. If I don't like being around you and you make me uncomfortable, then I'm out of it. Because I don't want to be around people that make me feel uncomfortable. But if I feel like you care so deeply about me that you're doing it because you love me and you want to see me grow, then that's different, right? And so that's one of the first things that I really strive to do is be someone that's worthy of their respect, love, admiration, and that they want to follow. That's really the number one thing. It's about who I am. Outside of that, I think it's very important to create a culture within your team that is one where everybody can achieve their goals, not Dan Grieve achieves his goals through Dan Grieve. It's Melissa Zito, Katie Kostenko, Ben Witten, Jesse, whoever else is working for me, all those people, their goals are realized through this little venture we call the Dan Grieve team, not just Dan's goal. And I think a lot of times we forget that. We talk about the team goals, but nowhere in that team goal is Melissa buying her first place or somebody getting out of debt or somebody becoming a better person. One of the things I tell people when I hire them is I could never pay you what you're actually worth. So I feel a responsibility to make your life better. Because if this was your last day on earth and I offered you to trade your last 8 hours to me for $100 or $15 an hour or even $1 million, you wouldn't take it. But I don't know. When you have 10 people working for you, you don't know who's going to get injured, who's going to die tomorrow, what's going to happen. So you got to make sure that you're doing things that make their lives better. And I really, really, really am burdened by that. The last thing that I'll tell you in regard to my philosophies is you got to have high standards. I have very high standards for myself, for my production, for the things that I do, and I have very high standards for the people that work for me. And here's the thing. People want high standards. They want to be associated with winners. And they're willing to work their asses off to get there, and they're not always looking for more money. They want to know that you care about them, you're building them, and that those standards make their lives better. I've had people in my life who've had high standards that have made me a better person just because I had to be around them. Every day I knew that I had to do certain things or I had to act a certain way by the mere fact that I was in the presence of that person. And I really do pray that as I get a little bit older and mature, that people feel that way about me, that they feel like they're better when they're around me and that the world is different because I crossed their path. And that's really a desire that I really, really strongly feel. And I feel like the number one people, besides my family, that are entitled to that are the people that choose to give their lives, their time to me, and to continue on this effort we call the Dan Grieve team.
So a lot of people on here, that I'm not sure where they're at. We've got a handful and others will watch it. But I know that going from single agent to the first hire is a huge transition because Most agents will have all the systems and checklists in their head. They're not very systematized. They have control issues. They don't want to give it away. They don't stop to develop. They almost want to immediately give all the balls to this person. What would you say are some tips and strategies for that person who's just with a new hire? Because a lot of the problem might be themselves. You already have the discipline to understand the importance of it. So what are some things you could give and advice for agents who are making their first hire and either have control issues or are horrible at systems or anything else?
Yeah, well, I mean, those are all definitely issues that we all experience. Number one is it's very rare for anybody to actually go to training on how to hire. You know, it's in the Keller Williams system, but most people don't go to that training until they actually need to. So you probably don't know what you're doing. All right, and so you're just winging it. And I get it. That's a mistake a lot of agents make. But what I would say is, number one, is your administrative assistant should be the first hire you make, not your buyer's agent. See, a lot of people hire that buyer's agent rather than the administrative assistant because they're so busy. And here's what's funny, is they end up paying someone else to give them more work. That's a huge mistake. Did you hear that, Rick?
Yeah, pay someone just to... I think Seth Campbell might have said it, that you're paying someone so you can be lazy.
No, you're not paying someone so you can be lazy. It's actually the opposite. If I hire you as a buyer's agent, Rick, what is going to happen? Hopefully you're going to do some business, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to put him under contract, and guess who's doing all the transaction work?
Yeah, so now guess who has to do all the paperwork? I do.
Yep.
I have to handle that. So I just paid you to give me more work. And what's crazy is I just overpaid you. I just gave you half of a $6,000 commission, $3,000 to take buyer leads from me, to then give me back all the admin so that I can't go make more money and put me right back into this crazy cycle of paperwork. So that's the mistake a lot of agents make. I say don't make that mistake. Get so incredibly busy that you have to hire an admin person. And don't hire your cousin, your brother, your sister. Don't hire someone who's down on their luck. Hire somebody like Melissa in my office. This woman craves order. She needs order. She must have things in the right place. If she doesn't, it bothers her. She has to do it. She's the woman that comes to your house, and, you know, you've got laundry on the couch, and she just starts talking to you as you're talking, and she just starts folding your laundry for you. I mean, that's the person that you want, is that they just see things out of order, and they start putting things in order. And they're everywhere around you. You just haven't seen them.
Sure.
So look at that person. And
okay.
That's the person you are. And then don't think for a second like, well, I got to pay them $30,000 a year. I don't have $30,000. That's irrelevant. You don't have to pay them $30,000 at one time. It's just $500 a week.
Right. And you take those little checkpoints, go from A to B, and understand where you're at in that process to get there.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of your systems that most agents have can be duplicated from other agents in your office. You have a ton of rock stars. If you walk down the office and say, do you have a checklist for this? They'd say yes. And you say, can I borrow that? And you just change their name from so-and-so's team to your team. And then you hand it over to your transaction coordinator or your first hire admin. And you say, does this make sense? And they're going to tell you whether it makes sense or not you tell them.
Sure.
The majority of the time, we're not administrative people. So we don't know whether, it's actually, we think it's right, but it's probably not. Let them handle it.
Well, leading and coaching is asking the right questions. So you've got 10 people in your team right now. What does your organization chart look like? How many people report to you?
I only have the agents that report to me. Right now, we just completed a complete metamorphosis of our team. So last year, we were very heavy admin because we represented some hedge funds. And now we've gone to a different retail base. I mean, literally overnight, like you heard me do with the police officer, going to the police academy versus being in college. We changed very fast. And so now I'm in charge of the agents, and I have 4 agents that work with me. We have a call center that we prospect out of every day. I'm going to grow that side to 10, and we're all going to prospect together. And then Melissa's in charge of everything that has to do with admin. So she's got transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, bookkeeper, driver, so she's got 5 on her team, and I have 5 on my team.
So you've got 4 buyer's agents. Every morning you prospect. I always love asking the question, highly talented or highly results-driven people, what is a typical day of Dan Grebe, from waking up to spending time with your kids and your wife to real estate?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let me just correct that. I don't have buyer's agents. I have agents. Like the people that work with me, I would prefer that they work with sellers. Right now they do buyers because they haven't earned their right to just work with sellers, but I would prefer they only work with sellers. Our business will be 80% sellers, 20% buyers. So there will be buyers that we just refer out to other agents or that we just don't take care of only because I want my agents spending their time going on listing. Another conversation for another time.
Sure.
But my day goes like this. I typically get up in the morning at, depending on the day. If it's a day I'm working out, I work out 3 days a week. I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'll go to jiu-jitsu. I do a 6:30 in the morning jiu-jitsu class from 6:30 to 7:30. I'll shower at the jiu-jitsu school and then I'll drive back to my office. And I'll be at our office / prospecting stations, which is I would call it the Bat Cave. It's an off-site call center. And we prospect there from 9 o'clock till 12 every day. So we do 3 hours. Sometimes we start at 8:30, so 3.5 hours of prospecting. We call for sale by owners, expired, any lead that has come in from any one of our lead sources. That's all we do for the morning. Then I typically will take a lunch meeting. Every day I have somebody that wants to either take me to lunch or meet me for lunch or something. So I do all of my meetings with people that aren't going to give me business, but are meetings I need to take, whether it be agents in the area that want to pick my brain about something. I want to be very open. I've always made a commitment that if somebody will take me to lunch, that I'll make the time to meet with them. So I do all of my lunch. I do all of that during lunchtime. And then after that, I do my lead follow-up in the afternoon, any administrative stuff that I got to take care of in terms of, making sure I have a listing package ready for that evening or whatever needs to be done. And then I go on my appointments at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock for listings. I'm usually home by about 6:37, and I'm with my family that evening, or at soccer practice with the kids, or I go to jiu-jitsu and do jiu-jitsu at night as well.
I love that because, like in Bold, they say it's a business objective, a life by design. You've got the design. You don't let people jump in there. So I appreciate you jumping on for us at 3 o'clock, and you have some appointments this afternoon, I trust. What can we see from you this year in 2014? Because it has shifted. Because so much of your business came from the hedge fund, and like a lot of things, we're in a shifting market, and you are going to continue to grow. So what is your business going to look like this year?
My goal this year is, our goal last year was 300 transactions, and I knew we were going to hit that number because of just the way the market was. And this year our goal is 200 as a team, and that's a good goal for us. That's an attainable goal. Again, here's the words I said: a good, obtainable goal. I think what happens sometimes, people, they set goals. Like if I said, well, last year I did 300, so I'm going after 600 this year. Well, once we got into month 3, my team would have started feeling a little beat down that they weren't accomplishing their goals. And when if I had to roll that goal back, it would have made them feel like they had failed. So I'm setting our goal lower at 200 and saying, but I want it to be 200 retail properties. We still have hedge funds and REOs involved, so we may get that 300 number, but we only focus on the 200 retail. That's our goal. The other stuff's gravy right now. So we'll probably see about 200 units this year. We'll still see, what's crazy is we're going to see the equal amount of commission of about $1 million, which is great. And I'm also going to take a job as a full-time coach this year. I just got hired by the Tom Ferry organization to coach for them, and I'm going to do that 1 or 2 days a week as an additional thing that I wanted to do so I can give back.
Yeah, I was going to go right into that. So perfect segue, because I remember speaking to you and you being at Coach's Skills Camp, that coach really was your passion. Lori Hoban, excuse me. I'm going to unmute you here real fast if you're able to be. Lori, can you hear us?
Yes,
So you asked me a question about a half hour ago. Do you want to read that out?
Well, he answered it. I was just asking him. Dan, hi, it's Lori. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I wanted to hear how you got started because you're such an inspiration. You're so totally focused, and you motivate all of us.
So well, that's really sweet. Thank you for saying that. I don't, I sometimes get, I don't know how to say this the right way. Sometimes people think that I'm bigger than I am. I would you guys would never believe how touched I am when I get those thank you cards from people or the sweet things people say to me on Facebook. It really touches me because I did have a rough life, and I did have some issues. And I made a decision that I was going to put the weight of my family tree on my shoulders, and that I was going to make things different from Dan Grieve down. That's all I can control, is that I was where the violence stopped, the alcoholism stopped, where the culture and the legacy of the Dan Grieve name or the Grieve name stopped and changed with Dan Grieve. And I decided to put that on my shoulders, and it's a load that I bear. And let me just tell you guys, sometimes I'm inappropriate. I say things I shouldn't say. Sometimes I snap at people. I make big mistakes. But, you know, I'm so driven because it's something I want so desperately to be different, to the point where, like, I could be a little emotional right now. I could feel myself doing, you know, a little bit more thinking, and I could probably start crying right now just because I feel like I want it so bad. And so I recognize the fact that it's not about just making money. It's who I change myself into and what I do. And then what do I do with that money? You know, do I do Operation Save Christmas? Do I donate money to real estate agents when they're struggling? Do I give my time to other people? Because one of the things I tell people, and you guys won't know this, your money is always cheap. It's your leadership that's expensive. And that's what people need, is they need your leadership. And so my leadership costs a lot more than the money I have. And I really need to give that, because if I can give good, solid leadership to a young guy like Rick, Rick's going to change the world down there at Keller Williams. He's over there he's leading 100 agents down there or more. And you know what? His leadership's going to raise the standards for all of them. You know, there's going to be better fathers, better mothers, better brothers, sisters because of Rick's leadership. So I want to, you know, the reason why I took this call, the reason why I've told Rick, like, hey, if you ever want to talk on the side, I'll talk to you, because I know that Dan Grieve will live long on after Dan Grieve's gone through guys like Rick and through these other guys across the country that I invest in. So, you know, that's just my thoughts on that. Were there any other questions? I'm sorry. I went a little crazy.
Lori, anything else to that? Dan,
no, I think that's everything. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good. And I appreciate that so much, because a lot of people ask me, why did I ever leave sales and become a team leader? Because, frankly, I could likely make more money in 2014 selling than I could as a team leader. And it's the opportunity to meet people who I wouldn't have normally met, the opportunity to lead and to raise my leadership lid and to change lives. And it's building wealth and a legacy and not building the riches in short term. I think it's a lot of the same philosophy going by. It's always coming from contribution, always changing lives and coming in every day saying, did I make an impact positively in someone's life?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, and sometimes the best way you can do that is just be making a positive impact on yourself, you know, changing who you are, because people will always forget what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And I remember that. I remember that. You know, when people come in my presence, do they feel good? Do they know that they were honored and appreciated, and that no matter what their situation or station in life, do they know that when they were close to me, that they were okay? And that's how I want people to feel when they're around me. It's like, listen, I don't care what I did. I don't care who I am. Whenever I'm around Dan Grieve, I feel good. I don't feel judged. I don't feel like I don't measure up. I feel like whoever I am, in my skin, right there in that moment, is good enough.
So you mentioned earlier in the call the fact that you can hold people accountable, that you hold them to standards, and I'm going to unmute somebody who was a previous guest on here. Debbie, are you out there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So this is Debbie Irons, Dan. And for those of you on the call, Debbie was on my call about 3 weeks ago about how she went from 4.5 to 9 million last year. And I think this call's evolved to be more than real estate. This call's evolved to be how you can impact people's lives through the conversations you have around them. So, Deb, you want to share with the group?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to share is Dan was the only person I met with last year, and I met with quite a few mega agents because that was really on my business list of to-dos to really change my business. And he was the one person that sat down with me And man, he gave me some cold, hard truth. I guess because I was doing well, so many people said to me, you're doing a great job, keep it up, wow, look what she's doing. But when I sat down with Dan, it was completely the opposite. It was, okay, wait, you're doing this wrong. Hey, I need you to write this down. And he even said to me, you need to gain some self-confidence, which was shocking to me because I'd never had anybody tell that to me. And it made me take a really hard look at both my business and myself personally. And the one thing that I wanted to tell Dan is now I really appreciate that because it did make me kind of stop and think, wait a minute, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit. And obviously I need to make some changes. He also wanted me to do a script right then and there, and I completely failed. And he said, write this down. I will never sit in front of Dan Grieb again and not have a script ready. So now I'm like scared to death to ever sit down with anybody who's going to start scripting. But those are the kind of things I really appreciated, and I think that you can get from some coaches that you won't get with so many. So I wanted to say thank you for that, Dan. I think that was really a business changer for me.
Oh, well, listen, Debbie, everything that we talked about, you had already inside of you. So maybe the words that I used somehow unlock things, but it's all about you. You're the one that's doing the work. You're out there making the changes that you needed to make. And if somehow I get to ride on your coattails, I'm more than happy about that. I am so proud of you and the changes you've made and the growth that you've made, especially, like I said, everybody's got a story. You've got a story. You may or may not have told your story. I know your story, and you've overcome a lot too. So it's great, and that's what this relationship is about, and that's what makes Keller Williams a little bit different, is that you can take each other out to lunch and say, hey, what about what's up with this or what's up with that? So absolutely. And let me tell you something else, guys. Debbie did something that if you're going to go out with a mega agent and spend time with them and have lunch with them, most mega agents or most people that are influential that you want to go talk to, they can buy their own lunch. They can afford it, okay? That's the truth. So what Debbie did is Debbie gave me a cookbook that she thought I would enjoy. And I think she wrote something inside of it. Dan, may this cookbook be good for you instead for me. And guess what? My wife and I still use that cookbook, and we think about Debbie all the time. So if Debbie was to call me up and ask me, hey, can we have lunch again? Absolutely. She's contributed positively to my life equally as much as I've contributed to her. Now, she may not think that, but she has. So, that's what you want. That's what you want to do. Bring something to the table of contribution, even when you think you can't give a lot. So, yeah, thank you, Debbie. That was awesome.
Thank you, Dan, so much.
I feel like playing a game because, Debbie, you're now speaking to Dan Grieb. Do you know your scripts?
Way better than I did. I'll tell you that for sure.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm going to mute you back out now. I think what's important about that for everyone out there listening, and you know what I love about these calls is I had a blank slate, and I didn't know where this was going to go, and it's coming back to be a pretty grateful call, just gratitude. And what's great about Debbie, and what's great about everyone else who's been coached and had their life changed, coaching is a permission. And if you have and you go out there with your own limiting beliefs, if you go out there with your own naysaying beliefs, the drunk monkeys as we call it, your coach can only do so much. You have to be coachable, willing to learn. Dan, did you ever have that moment? Were you ever in a low of low, similar to the Chris Gardner when he spent the night in the bathroom, lowest of low, where you said, this is my rock bottom and I'm never going to get out of here again? Did you ever have that low?
It's kind of funny as, many times in your life you find yourself in that place where you say never again, right? And that's the moment when change happens, is when you say never again. So there's been many. I'll tell you one in my real estate career. And the reason why I'm debt-free today is I got into real estate and I got connected with some idiots who did not know what they were talking about when it came to finances and money, and I wanted to be like them. So I went and got a BMW, and I went and got an expensive house, and I did all these things, and I listened to the advice of fools. And then the market changed, and I got crushed, just like everybody else did. And at the time, I was the #1 agent at the RE/MAX office I was at, and I couldn't close a single thing. I had like 50-plus short sale listings, and none of them would close, period. It wasn't going to happen. So I went 4 months without making $1, and I had more listings than anybody. And I was and I was watching agents every day going out of business. So I literally found myself in a place where we couldn't pay our mortgage. We had rent. We couldn't pay our car payments, all that stuff. So I did this to myself, and it scarred me then. I'm glad I did. And I took my little 5-year-old, and I stood in front of him. His name Riley. He's now 11 years old. And I said, Riley, I've put you in a bad financial position. He didn't have any idea what I was saying. And I will never do this to you again. I will never allow us as a family to ever fly so low financially that we could crash into the rocks with one little blip. 4 months with no paycheck will never be a problem for us again. And then, the tears started rolling down my eyes, and my son was, he was crying because his dad was crying, and I knew I had put him in a spot, and I said, you know what, never again. So I went about literally working every day, 7 days a week for almost 2 years to make sure we could get a new house, which we put down a huge amount of money so we could pay our cars with cash, we could pay our debts off, all of that. And my goal was that by the time I was 40 years old, I could work because I want to, not because I have to, and I could choose what I do when I get up in the morning. Rick, I'm happy to report that I am 39 years old. I will be 40 in September, and I am debt-free, and I know no one nothing.
Awesome.
And I get up in the morning, and I work because I want to, not because I have to. So when I talk about shifting business right now, I'm okay with shifting business because I only have to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month to be sitting very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any business debt. I don't have any personal debt. I don't have any credit cards. All of it's cash, liquid stuff. And that's just the way I choose to live my life now. And that was one of those times in my life. Now, other times in my life, I've looked back, from a teenager when I was hopeless with issues occurring in my life, and I just said, I'm never going to allow this to happen to me. I'm never going to turn into my father. So that, I remember that. I think about that often. So those are some, defining pivotal moments where you made those changes. But there's been many.
I love that. So I want to wrap up here a little bit with some Q&A if people are on there. And more than a Q&A, I wrote down some ahas, if you will, some things that really stood out in a common theme. So if you guys have any, I want you to type it in there and share with what it is. I feel a lot of us in different circumstances we're all spoken to a little bit today. Maybe not have the story and the upbringing and that big why, but from the beginning you said it's about your family. You said it's about never putting your children, your wife, in a situation that you grew up in. And when you've got a why that big, it trumps everything. So what do you say to people who don't have that glaring big why, who can kind of get away with mediocrity, is a tough word, but in all honesty, mediocrity, and they don't feel the pain like you would have felt? What do you tell them as a coach?
Well, everyone has a motivation, and I use the example like this, if you have a, say the liter bottle of soda, right, and it's 100% full, it's full, right? And if you have a shot glass full of water, it's full. Well, that's your capacity, right? My capacity, I'm a liter bottle, so I was able to deal with a bunch of crap in my life and then overcome it, right? There's other people, their capacity is lower. Maybe it was, something occurred in your younger days, or maybe you were raised with money and you just didn't think your parents respected you, or they didn't give you the time you wanted. You wanted to be different in your family. I think you just got to go out there and seek it out. And I think you got to get very quiet, intentional about finding what in this world made you different, and then what are you going to leave on this world? And sometimes you don't get it right away. It'll come to you over time. I think that you may not have it right away. For me, my experience as a 40-year-old, which is on its way, is totally different than my experience as a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old. The rest of my life is going to be different, and it's just because I got here. Mm-hmm. I lived through some huge mistakes. I've had to apologize to people. I've had to lick some wounds for things that I'm embarrassed about that I said or did. But that's what shapes you. And then it's not about what you did. It's about what you do now. And so there's a reason why, I only know a few people that are on the call. I can't see everybody. But there's a reason why Rick is on this earth. There's a reason why Debbie is on this earth. To leave, it's not just that infectious smile of hers and her attitude. There's something that's going to be different. Now, maybe it's going to be she's going to raise her daughters to be the most powerful women, just like she's becoming now, that we might meet our first woman president because of her. Or they may be such amazing leaders because of the changes she's made in her life and the confidence that she allowed to pour out of herself that imported their daughters or any of the other people that are on this call. There's a reason why. Maybe you were just put on this earth to be just an amazing encouragement to someone else that changes the world. You don't know what that is, but everybody on this earth was here to do something. And that is true. And if it's true for me, then it has to be true for you, because if it's not true for you, then it can't be true for me. None of us are inconsequential, and none of us have this non-value. So you just have to ask yourself, why am I here, and how can I contribute and make this experience we call life better that I was here? That's really it. And then dig deep.
Yeah, it's get true clarity. The other story I loved with this was when you were told you can't get coaching, and it said no is simply an obstacle for you. You found a way to get around it. And
Yeah.
I think that holds true to so many rejections we get in our life, that no is a temporary obstacle, and it's just not yet. It's not a no.
Right, absolutely. Here's the crazy thing. The further you get down the path, the less power you give to the word no. I remember when I was like 16 years old, and the first girl that broke up with me, her name is Tara Golio. I remember her. And we dated, we had a thing, whatever it was, we held hands, whatever, we may have had a kiss once. And then like 3 weeks later, she broke up with me, and I remember how broken I was. I was so upset at the fact that Tara was no longer dating me. I mean, it was like I was in a rut for a month because of that. And now, if that would have happened to me today, obviously, if I was in a dating relationship, I would go, okay, well, then that's not the right person for me. I need to go find the right person. Thank you for releasing me and not leaving me in a relationship that's not going anywhere early. Thanks for not putting me through years of pain to figure out that we're not supposed to be together. Thank you for getting me one step closer to everything I never knew I wanted, my wife, Mindy, who is not even the definition that I would have thought I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? She's everything I wanted. But if Tara would have been this thing, then it could have dragged it all on. I needed her to say no so I could get to my yes, which is this amazing woman. That's my wife. This year we will be married 15 years,
So I promise I will not sing on the air, but there's a country song, and you guys up north, you can't make fun of me, but it says some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Yes, no doubt about it.
So I
no doubt about it, and in so many ways, right? And I mean, not just in relationships, but in every way. Sometimes what we think we want is really not what's best for us, and we just need time to reveal what the true answer should be. And then our impatience prevents us from getting there sometimes because we force the wrong things.
I love it. And I'm confident that through this conversation, at least somebody out there, you've touched to change the way they look at things. What question have I not asked you that I should have asked you? What do we not know about you?
Wow. This was a different call. I mean, this was like you said, it was a conversation. We talked more about personal stuff than anything else. So let's change it around as what do I want to leave these people with on the call, okay? How about that? Is there any other questions?
No, go ahead.
My last thing will kind of...
Well, hold on. That's not the last thing then. I've got one more for you. Ron Weislikowski, your buddy from Daytona / Melbourne, says that he finds that he works best right before a vacation. So how many vacations do you have in your growth plan in your 411 this year?
That's awesome. Well, I plan on going on vacation 4 times every quarter this year.
4 times a quarter?
1 time a quarter.
1 time a quarter, okay.
And so I plan on doing that. But I'm not here in Orlando that often. I travel a lot. Like, I'll give you an example. I got to go to San Diego. No, I have to go to Orange County, California to get my coaching thing figured out. I've been offered the position, but I have to figure that out. So I'm going to go down there on the 25th. We have family reunion. I'll be gone for a week, and then in March I'll be in Salt Lake City. So those don't count as vacations; those are business trips. But I don't go places. I don't do things that aren't enjoyable. Like I wouldn't be doing this call right now if I thought it was going to be painful.
Mm-hmm.
I do it because it's fun. You know, the people I choose to spend my time with, you know, they make me feel good, and the things that I do, they make me feel good. And you'll know if you're around me long enough. You'll hear me say, I don't feel good about that, so I'm not doing that. And it doesn't matter what it is. My wife knows if I don't feel good about it, I'm not doing it. It doesn't matter what it is. I won't do it. I just won't. I'm like that dog that you have to drag by the back of his neck. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. And if it doesn't make you feel good and I don't feel right about it, I'm just not going to do it. And it doesn't matter. I've missed out on amazing investment opportunities that could have been an OP at many Keller Williams market centers, and I said, I'm just not going to do that. That's make me feel right.
Uh-huh.
And so when I go on vacation, when I go on a business trip, I call in advance and say, you know what? I'm going to be in Orange County, California. Devin Doherty, he makes me feel good. I want to spend time with him. Hey, Devin, can we have dinner when I'm out there? Yes. Hey, I'm going to be in San Diego. I'm going to see if I can meet with this person. Hey, I'm going to go down and speak at Rich Carpentieri's office. Debbie, will you be there? I want to have lunch with you that day. Can we spend some time? And we're going to laugh, and I'm going to enjoy the moment. And then my vacations, those are even better. I normally try to get some other people to go. Like, hey, I went with Seth and his family on a Disney cruise. On a cruise this year, I went with Rick Brinkus, who's in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, one of my family friends, with his family on a Disney cruise. So I went on 2 cruises last year. I went with the Tellos from Miami down to their beach house, spent a week with them this year. I mean, we've done a lot of cool stuff. And then we put, you know, my wife and I go to the Gaylord Palms and do our staycations there together. I mean, you know, you got to enjoy today as well as your vacation. So hopefully that helps. You know,
I think and some. Awesome job. Awesome job all around. So let's finish off with what you'd mentioned, the one thing, the takeaway you like.
Yeah, so I believe, I mean, this is just coming like, all right, what do I think right now? Like, I didn't practice anything, so I'm just going to kind of see what I feel for this call. I believe we all suffer. We all do. We all suffer from an insecurity that we're not good enough. We all do. I believe that at some level. Some people are open about it. Some people are closed about it. And I'm going to say that on this call today that understand that we all suffer from that and that there is antidote for that. And the antidote for that is what you put into yourself. So whether it be that you go and you practice your religion and that's what it is, or that you memorize poems or speeches or verses of the Bible or whatever your religious thing is, you put that in you. Because aside from that, this world is going to pour negative stuff in you every day. You're going to get clients fairly. People are going to cut the line, and it's not going to work out to your favor. You're going to lose a listing because someone cheated. Whatever's going to happen. And that negativity is constant.
Broke up a little bit there at the end.
That's my rules. Number one is they've heard me say this. I don't hang out with anybody that doesn't make me feel good.
Okay. You broke up a little bit at the end, but I think everyone can agree that you're deep and you get to people at their core. You lead them to be better people, and every day you get to be a better person because of it. So I appreciate everything you've done from our encounters to being on the call to here today. This will be up on the YouTube page and my website, rickbosley.com. So if you guys were on this call, you know somebody who maybe be feeling a little bit down or defeated, perhaps this would be what it takes to get them in there.
And then I read and memorize speeches, poems, and sayings, and I memorize them. So when I'm squeezed, that comes out of me. So the one I'm going to leave you with today is this one. It says, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We say to ourselves, who am I to be talented, brilliant, and fabulous? I say to you, who are you not to be? You were made to make your light shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, but in all of us. You're playing small so others don't feel insecure around you. It does not serve the world. as we release ourselves of our fear, it unconsciously gives permission for others to do the same. And so that right there, guys, was 100% quoted as I sit in my car in a parking lot talking to you today. I did not read that. That's what's inside of me. So when I start feeling insecure and inadequate, I know that I was made to make my light shine like children do. That is
What's that poem called?
All of us. It's called Our Greatest Fear. It's by Marianne Williamson. She wrote it for Nelson Mandela.
Greatest Fear. Great closing.
All right.
Well, Dan, I will look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at Family Reunion. I trust you're going, correct?
Yes, sir, and I'll be there. Anybody wants to meet with me when I'm there, feel free, or if you have any questions, just hit me up on Facebook. I always respond to those messages. Those are easy.
Is this the best way to get a hold of you down here?
Yes. Yeah, I think so, and if you want to do lunch with me, Debbie will tell you. You got to make an appointment with Katie at my office, and her email address is katie@dangrebe.com.
So Katie at dangrebe.com. Well,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
everyone for being on. If you're seeing this live or seeing it recorded, and join us on March 4th, a month from now with Beth Hobart. I've been coaching with Beth for these 2 years. I've really been enjoying watching her mold into the mega agent that she is. Doubled her business in the last 2 years, and she's doing it without a buyer's agent. So she herself an assistant. So really talented there. And then Cece Underwood is absolutely killing it up in Jacksonville right now. I saw on Facebook, I think she took 25 or 20 traditional listings in January. So you want to find out what she's doing, then we'll see you on March 18th. Guys, for this one and every other one, you can come join me and navigate through. Take a look at my website, rickbosley.com. You check out the videos tab. You'll see all the previously recorded videos, webinars, including this one in a couple of days. Dan, I appreciate it so much again. Keep it up. Anything I can do for you, you let me know.
You got it. God bless you. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dan. Be well.